I am Mark McMenamin, and I'm professor of geology in the Department of Geology and Geography at Mount Holyoke College. And I'm about to speak to you about Vladimir Vernadsky's legacy in science and the development of Earth and cosmos. But first, I would like to extend my greetings to Ambassador Alexander Motzik, his diplomatic staff in Washington, and to all the citizens of Ukraine. May you receive all the blessings that friendship can bestow. You have asked me to speak on the occasion of the sesquicentennial of the birth of the great Ukrainian scientist Vladimir Vernadsky. I'm delighted for this opportunity to speak about Vernadsky, who was founder and first president of the Ukrainian Academy of Sciences in Kiev. Part one of my talk is entitled, "If Rocks Could Fly." Vernadsky's fundamental insight into the nature of the biosphere regards the transfer of material across the surface of the planet. And this vision of his had a great influence on other researchers. Vernadsky was inspired by an article published in Nature magazine in 1890 that described the activity of a cloud of locusts. Vernadsky concluded, and I'm quoting him here, that that cloud of locusts, translated into chemical elements and metric tons, can be considered as an entire rock formation in motion, moving laterally across the surface of the Earth. Life, for Vernadsky, does not represent some kind of passive passenger on planet Earth, but is rather a geological force itself. All rocks on Earth and all the geochemical systems on the surface of the planet have been controlled and conditioned by living processes. This includes not only the sedimentary rocks, but the volcanic and igneous rocks and the metamorphic rocks as well. For example, consider the Vernadsky-inspired research of the scientist K.A. Voskresensky, who carried out research in the White Sea in the 1940s. Voskresensky showed that as silty water from the shoreline reached a shoal of mussels, clams that were living in a shell bed, these filter-feeding mollusks consumed so much of the nutritious particles in the water that it altered the density of the water, and the water began to flow upwards. This caused the filtered water to flow upwards, it being less dense, and thus generated a purified marine current that flowed to the shore. So these organisms were actually altering the characteristics of the water which they were feeding in, changing its density as the water flowed through their filter-feeding devices. Thus, Vernadsky's influence inspired research that shows that natural processes can lead to water purification, and furthermore, understanding of the nature of these processes will help us to understand the potential for environmental self-cleansing as we work to improve water and air quality on Earth. Earth, for Vernadsky, cannot be separated from the life it contains. Bacteria live 3 kilometers or more beneath the surface of the planet. Spores fill the atmosphere and are carried to all points of the globe. Vernadsky's vision thus resembles that of Hildegard of Bingen in her Song of Creation entitled O Holy Fire. And she writes, "Through you clouds stream, ether flies, stones gain moisture, waters become streams, and the earth exudes life." Thus, for Vernadsky, life is a fundamental and defining characteristic of the Earth. Part two, I'll be talking about Vernadsky's concept of life as a cosmic phenomenon. Vernadsky insisted that life is as foundational as matter and energy, and his insistence on this point infuriated some scientists and inspired others. Vernadsky upset several of his scientific colleagues by his insistence that life was co-foundational with matter and energy. The phenomenon of life is thus inherent to all matter, and thus this potential can be traced back to the very first moments of the universe. And for Vernadsky, life is fundamental and a defining characteristic of the cosmos. Part three is Vernadsky's concept that chance does not exist. Vernadsky discovered, and was well ahead of his time in discovering this, that discrete laws apply to the study of Earth and life as a holistic system. He had a strikingly advanced understanding of this relationship between the processes of life and the laws that govern the development of life over the course of geologic time. As he put it, and I quote, "Earth's structure is a harmonious integration of parts that must be studied as an indivisible mechanism. Creatures on Earth are the fruit of a long and complicated mechanism in which it is known that fixed laws apply and chance does not exist." This suggests that fixed laws also govern the development of human affairs, and that the better that we understand these laws and act in accordance with them, the better we will serve as stewards of planetary development. Thus, scientific education is one of the most important areas for human effort, as it will help us, using the principles elucidated by Vernadsky in his study of the biosphere, to promote a world that is ready for the full flourishing of the human species and also for the flourishing of the rest of the biosphere as well. In my opinion, if we do this job well, we can restore the Earth to Pleistocene levels of air and water quality, and at the same time reach the full carrying capacity of the planet for human life. In doing so, we would be in accord with Vernadsky's insight that, quote, "The task of mankind is to deliver the largest possible benefit to his surroundings." Okay, my fourth and final part in this talk is the concept that Vernadsky developed in addition to other researchers, and this is the concept of the noosphere, thought as a geological process. Vernadsky considers the noosphere, or thinking layer, of the Earth to be an outcome of the entire cosmic mechanism, as he put it. In contrast to the views of Teilhard de Chardin, who also wrote about the noosphere, Vernadsky does not ask us to build the Earth, as Teilhard put it. The Earth has already been built for us. For Vernadsky, the task ahead lies in organizing our great intellectual abilities that allow us to generate power and transfer materials across the surface of the Earth in ways that enhance and improve life on Earth. Vernadsky saw the authentic development of human reason and technology as vital instruments for the changes occurring in the universe, in the words of one Vernadsky scholar. Thus, with Vernadsky, we may speak of ourselves as instruments in a cosmic symphony, and if we tune and refine our activities accordingly, we may participate in the performance of a harmonious future. To quote Hildegard of Bingen again, "There is the music of heaven in all things, and we have forgotten how to hear it until we sing." It is then incumbent on us as citizens of Earth and the cosmos to remember how to sing a song that was begun before us and can be celebrated through the ages if we but listen carefully for the tempo and melody. Although Vernadsky professed to a materialist philosophy in some of his writings, to fully participate in the cosmic symphony, I believe that we must rise beyond this and recapture the spiritual chorus that unites and could potentially reunite the peoples of the East and the West. As Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI put it so well, are not the oases of creation that sprang up, say, around the Benedictine monasteries in the West, foreshadowings of this reconciliation of creation brought about by the children of God, just as, conversely, something like Chernobyl is a shocking expression of creation's enslavement in the darkness of God's absence. The full application, therefore, of human reason and technology in the best tradition of Vernadsky's study of the biosphere brings us back to a full understanding of our place in the universe as an oasis of creation, a fragile planet, so easily damaged, and yet which paradoxically hosts the most important and ultimately the most powerful development in the cosmos. Thank you.